Greetings, this is Rabbi Aaron Boxt. It's been a while since my last podcast, but with the High Holy Days and everything going around surrounding it, I was quite busy, and now I'm less busy, still busy, but back to my podcast on a weekly basis now. Um, it's October 10th and it's 1:50 p.m. in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time, and obviously what is on everyone's mind these days, Jewish and not Jewish, is what's going on in Israel. The war that Israel is now fighting with Hamas. Um, and of course, I no matter what I say, obviously my comments, my opinions are going to be biased, and I accept that. Um, but I want to sort of give a little bit of background in my own thoughts, my own opinion as to what's going on over there right now. So this all started this time, Shabbat morning, or Friday evening, Shabbat morning. Friday evening here, Shabbat morning in Israel. Hamas terrorists infiltrated Israel shortly after um, shooting off a round of an intense round of rockets in various different places in Israel, southern Israel, and there was ground, air, and also uh, I believe water attack as well. Um, and they made it quite a distance in Israel and killed, to this point, almost or shortly more than, or a little bit more than 1,000 people, as well as wounding many more. Israel, of course, is now has declared war against Hamas and is fighting back in the Gaza Strip. Um, there's other small skirmishes going around different parts of the country that Israel is responding to, hoping that they don't have multiple fronts because that would be a much longer war, and certainly there would be many more casualties than if it's just on the one front, and there does expect to be more casualties, many more to come on both sides, um, Palestinian and the Israeli side. And obviously, there's also the numbers are skewed depending on who you ask, with somewhere around 150 hostages being held in the Gaza Strip by Hamas, and Hamas has begun to threaten to brutally kill these hostages and broadcast to the world what they're doing. So that's where we are right now with this particular conflict, or this particular episode of the conflict, because obviously this is a conflict that's been going on for a lot longer than a few days, or even a few months or years. Um, but what I want to do is I want to sort of take a step back and look at this from a not a humanitarian, but I want to look at this from the lens of what exactly is occurring. Okay? Hamas and other Muslim Islamic terrorist groups um, believe that Israel is a usurper of land, is destroying the people in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. That is, Israel is on the offensive. They are the ones that are causing this rift. Um, all you have to do is look at the Hamas charter to know what their primary goal is. The Hamas charter basically says that they want to push Jews, all of the Jews, into the ocean or the sea, Mediterranean Sea, which means their end goal is the destruction of Israel and of all the Jews. in Israel. That's fact. That's in the Hamas charter. So, no matter what happens on the Israeli side or the Hamas side, Palestinian side, Israel is fighting a war with an organization of people that wants their destruction. Period. Israel does not want the destruction of the Palestinians. As a matter of fact, Israel really wants to live in peace. Golda Meir very famously said, you can't negotiate with people who are more interested in killing you than protecting their own people. And that's where we are. So what does that mean? Well, that means that you've got Hamas who are terrorizing, and I mean this intentionally. They are terrorizing the Palestinian people themselves. Since February of this year or so, Israelis have been in the streets protesting against the Israeli government, and they are fighting against the government because they have the ability, they have free speech, they have the right to speak out their mind and to protest. In the Gaza Strip, if the Palestinians speak out against Hamas, they're killed. And or the lives of their family are threatened. So Hamas, in fact, is terrorizing the Palestinian people in a very different way than anybody is considering. It's true. There are something like 2 million or something like that of Palestinians living in the Gaza Strip, and it is the most densely populated place in the world. And the borders are controlled on one side by Israel and by Egypt on the other side. And the reason those borders are controlled is because of what's going on right now. Hamas uses the people of the Palestinian Gaza Strip as shields so that when Israel fights back, it appears to people who don't actually know what's really going on that Israel is destroying or killing thousands and thousands and thousands of civilians, when in all actuality, Hamas is using the Palestinian people as a shield and threatening them that if they speak out against the Hamas government, they'll be killed anyway. That doesn't happen in a democracy. That doesn't happen in a place where people have the right to speak out their minds, to speak up. So that's where we are right now. Israel is fighting a war against an organization that calls for, in its charter, its destruction, prevents their own people from speaking out against them, threatening them with and their families with death, and, by the way, parades hostages, little children, and older people in the streets, and then hands out candy to celebrate the fact that they're doing this. Israel is not fighting a war with someone who is fighting the same kind of war, that is following the rules of war, or the laws of war, the rules of the way that you're supposed to fight a war in the right way. I mean, really, war is bad. Really, there should be no wars, but there is a quote-unquote right way of fighting a war, and right now Israel is not fighting against an opponent that believes that. They're fighting against an opponent that believes that the destruction of the IDF and of the Israel people and of the Jews in Israel, that's their main goal. Israel finds itself between a rock and a hard place. Thank God the United States and other allies are supporting Israel in defending itself. Could you imagine for a moment, just imagine for a moment, if Canada or Mexico did to the United States what Hamas did to Israel? Could you imagine how the United States would respond? Would anybody in the world say anything to them about other than you have the right to defend yourself? So not only is Israel fighting a war against an organization that sees its destruction as its final goal and not abiding by quote unquote the rules of war, they're also fighting a double standard. Which that's been the truth since Israel was founded in 1948. And by the way, if you know your history, you know that the Palestinian people, the term Palestinian, was something that was created by Yasser Arafat in reference to the Roman Philistina, which of course the Romans named after the Philistines, not Palestinians. So Jews actually, Israelis actually, can trace their roots in that land thousands of years. Maybe some of the people in the Palestinian families can as well, but they don't have the ancestral hold on the land that they say they do. And that's just truth. At the end of the day, I pray that this war ends quickly with as little or as few casualties as possible. I pray that we come to a place of peace. And I pray that the Palestinian people, the Palestinian leaders, will decide to love their own women and children more than they hate the Jews. Very famous quote. If the Palestinians dropped their guns, or the Arabs dropped their guns right now, Israel would have peace with all of its neighbors. If Israel dropped its guns right now, there would no longer be Israel. May God send peace. May God protect all of the soldiers who are fighting for freedom, who are fighting for the ability to live their lives in peace. May God send love to all people. Amen.